Hello everybody. Here we are rolling along the Swedish west coast on the first stage of our journey to Great Britain. Our first goal is Oslo in Norway, where we are hoisted aboard the motor ship Blenheim, which is to take us to Newcastle. As we move slowly out of Oslo harbour, Akershus Castle and Oslo's magnificent town hall slip by on the starboard side. Oslo Fjord is lying as flat as a mill pond, and, luckily, so is the North Sea outside. In conditions like these, one really sees the North Sea at its best. On British soil at last, we swing the car's nose to the north and head for Scotland. Once over the border, storybook towns with castles and towers rise before us. After a few hours' drive, we run into Edinburgh, Scotland's beautiful capital, guarded by the famous Edinburgh Castle. The castle guards salute us. Although Scotland is proud of its independent history, the Queen of England is also Queen of Scotland. And when she visits Edinburgh, she stays at her official residence of Holyrood. Nowadays, Holyrood is surrounded by flower gardens which soften its appearance, and it's difficult to believe in its bloody history from the days of Bonnie Prince Charlie and Mary Stuart. Continuing northwards, our car winds through the highlands, where the rounded hills are pink with heather. Near Inverness, however, the hills take on a sharper profile. And Inverness Castle reminds us of Shakespeare's King Macbeth and his terrible murders. Just outside of Inverness lies the long, narrow lake called Loch Ness, home of the legendary Loch Ness monster. We go down to the shore of the loch to picnic, and in true British style, we must, of course, make tea. Our cooker is a real Scottish one, and needs nothing more than a couple of old newspapers to boil the water. Relaxing in the sun and the soft summer breezes, we now and again look out over the loch to see if we can catch a glimpse of the monster. The British bulldog is a more common sort of monster that you can meet in any street. The main industry in the Highlands is sheep rearing, and we follow a couple of sheep owners up into the hills to look at their flocks. The shepherd's life is hard, but the dogs do most of the work. Who wouldn't be a shepherd when one can look out over magnificent views like this one towards Ben Nevis, the highest mountain in the British Isles? A three-wheeled car with the engine mounted on the front bumper. Everywhere you go in Britain, you find that the people have a remarkable love for old and odd forms of transport. In Glasgow, they use double-decker trams which rattle along at a fine speed. In Dumfries, the museum attendant will proudly show you the world's first pedal-driven bicycle, complete with a fine leather saddle and a horse's figurehead. Railway crossings are rare in the British Isles, and they usually have gates instead of booms. When the train has gone by, the gates swing across the tracks so that no one can get onto the rails. Travelling south towards England, our road takes us through the famous Scottish border village of Gretna Green. In the old days, young people in love used to run away to Gretna Green, where the local blacksmith had the right to marry them immediately without their parents' consent. Today's blacksmith no longer marries people, but his smithy is a popular tourist attraction, and one can, of course, always make believe. We drive through the hilly county of Cumberland, where the Roman Emperor Hadrian had a wall built so that his soldiers could defend England from the rebellious Scots. Bed and breakfast was a sign for which we kept our eyes open. Here we could usually find comfortable lodgings with private families, which meant that we came into contact with pleasant, kindly people. Soon the mountains again begin to increase in height. Lakes appear on either side, and we run into England's beautiful Lake District. The pretty town of Keswick is in the heart of the district, and picture postcards of the surrounding countryside show us where to go for the beautiful views which are easily reached from the centre of the town. In sharp contrast to the quiety and beauty of the Lake District, we continue further south into Liverpool, sandwiched between a lorry and a bus. Liverpool is one of England's largest ports and industrial towns, and lying in the docks you will find ships from every corner of the globe. The shortest route from Liverpool to Wales is through the Mersey Tunnel, which carries cars under the River Mersey. Everywhere we go in England, we meet cars towing caravans. Caravan camping is extremely popular in the British Isles, and in many places, particularly on the coast, you find whole villages of completely equipped caravans. Even home conveniences are not forgotten. They say that if everyone in England stood on the coast at the same time, there would be 4 rows of people stretching around the whole country. It's therefore not very surprising that some of the beaches seem crowded during the summer. Paddling is popular for the older people. The youngsters enjoy themselves at the seaside fun fairs, where the sounds of the barrel organ mix with the crash of the waves. Now and again, a charity parade is organised, with children as the chief actors, and prizes for the best entries. South towards Stratford-on-Avon, the town where Shakespeare was born and scene of many Shakespearean play festivals. We pay a visit to the house in which he was born and admire his coat of arms, which now hangs over the door in his honour. Nearing London, we enter Oxford. The qualities of this ancient student town are mirrored in its many statues, which time has now worn to mellow shapes, giving a feeling of peace and beauty. Small student rooms, old roofs, towers and battlements, all combine to give Oxford its well-known character. On a beautiful summer's morning, we drive into London, past the Houses of Parliament and Big Ben. Bravely, we join the traffic whirling around Trafalgar Square. Then, parking the car, we wander out among the cosmopolitan crowds. The pigeons here live off the fat of the land, fed by kind-hearted people from all over the world. Buckingham Palace, with its red-coated guards, is an obvious tourist attraction. And today, we're in luck, because we have come at just the right time to see the famous ceremony called the changing of the guard. Since we are in London, we must, of course, drive around the statue of Eros in the centre of Piccadilly Circus. And we must also, of course, return later the same night to see the neon lighting. The following day, we cross over the Tower Bridge, heading for the northwest part of the city. The Tower of London once held famous political prisoners and traitors. Nowadays, it's considered a safe place to keep the British Crown jewels. Having miraculously survived the bombing of the Second World War, the proud dome of St. Paul's is now an even more prominent landmark than it was before. Not far from St. Paul's, we find the Old Lady of Threadneedle Street, as the Bank of England used to be called by Londoners. Leaving London, we catch a last glimpse of Westminster as we set out on the final stage of our journey and head towards the south coast. This part of the country has many large estates with beautiful parklands. And today, just as many hundreds of years ago, herds of deer wander undisturbed. And now, our car journey in Britain is nearly over. And we drive towards the Silver City cross-channel air ferry. The giant Bristol Air freighter takes 3 cars at a time and flies them complete with their passengers across to France in 23 minutes. We enter the aircraft. The doors close on our car. And a few minutes later, we lift up into the clear blue sky. Goodbye, England. Thank you for a wonderful holiday. We'll be coming back again soon.